All right, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to RevKev RC. Return viewers, subscribers, and newcomers alike, thank you one and all for stopping by. This is going to be episode 2 or video 2 in the series for this beautiful, I would say very high value RC. It's got a little dirt on her. Took her for a test run, but that's not necessarily what I'm here to talk about. I didn't go to the woods or anything. I just kind of took her off and on the way to the mailbox to go get the mail. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows with this thing per se. Now, what I am going to tell you about, to me personally, me, RevKev, I don't mind having to deal with this kind of thing. And I'll preface what I'm going to tell you with this reality. This thing is brand new to the market. It is produced, no doubt, in a place where people are probably, well, I don't know. I was going to say probably overworked and underpaid, but I don't want to get into that. But that could be a reality. So there were some things once I got done filming the first video, the unboxing and first impressions of this, and not on film, talking to you, I started kind of like digging and looking and checking fasteners and just kind of getting a little bit deeper to see if this beautiful arrival into my life was all that it appeared to be. And I will say 96% yes. It is, and it was, and it still is, especially after just taking it on a quick, probably 15 minutes total of running it. It is smooth as glass how this thing, how it sounds, how it shifts, how it moves over terrain. It's actually got really good, whatever oil they put in the shocks here, which I didn't say it, but I thought it was obvious. And again, I apologize for that. But these are metal bodied shocks, but whatever oil they put in here, it's extremely well damped for what I am going to do with it. I think it crawls well for the geometry that it has. And I also think it hauls tail pretty good too. If it looks a little wonky here, it's because the bodies, I got the post right here. The lock, it's right in there. So yeah, it's sticking up a half an inch farther than it normally would. Either way, I want to talk about some things I discovered that are not the end of the world, but as with probably any ready to run RC, you might want to have a look. And I was kind of tipped off. I went back and watched the video that I made, the first one on this, and I thought the steering looked a little bit like one of the wheels was just ever so slightly out like that. Some cars come that way, that toe out for straight line stability going quickly. So I kind of wrote it off looking at that on the bench. But then I picked it up and I kind of wiggled it, and it was this one. It was the passenger front. And it was noticeably more loose than the driver and any of the other tires. So of course I did what any curious RC enthusiast would do, and I got to looking. So I'm going to tell you what I discovered. So I took off the wheel, and I was also taking the wheels off because I was going to seal the vent hole in the wheel ring, because these are bead locks. In the wheel ring there is a hole, one hole, and I just put a bunch of Gorilla Tape around it and seal it off. So now these are sealed. I can run through whatever I want to and not going to ruin the foams. And also on my little test run, these tires they perform pretty well. So I may put some dual stage in there, but I think the tires are pretty good. If I can find some wheels that look just like this, I might upgrade to aluminum. But for the time being, I like how it is. And my little test run through the dirt and doing the high speed and a little bit of crawling, it performed pretty good for what I'm asking it to do. So let me just explain what I discovered. 7mm. So once I took the tires off, I was pleasantly surprised to see these are, I think they're aluminum. Either that's steel or I am getting, let's take it off. We'll take it off and then we'll see what that is. That's a 2mm. All right, sweet. So you get steel or some sort of harder than aluminum metal. I like to see that. I didn't test this last night, but I do like to see that. And it doesn't actually matter in this build, but these are keyed. So whatever they use this in otherwise is keyed. It has like a oblong with straight sides going up and down in the frame. So something to note that isn't actually important, but it is true. All right. So I took the tire off, took the wheel off, and I noticed that the stub axle for the portal was kind of loose and droopy. It kind of moved like a joystick on a game controller. And I was like, oh, well, that's why the tire was moving so loosey-goosey. And, well, of course, that got me thinking, well, I basically immediately recognized there was no bearing in the portal cover right here. There's no bearing right here. That was pretty evident because there was a giant space there. So I'm going to show you some things that didn't quite add up. These are all 2.5mm, by the way. Some things that didn't quite add up to the box art. If you recall, the image in the box art made it look like this thing had fully sealed, like rubber sealed ball bearings, and perhaps just it's artistic licensing, or the art people and the design people didn't have a meeting. But you'll notice the bearing up top. That's just a regular metal seal in there, which is not rubber sealed. So these are not going to keep out adventure from the trail and water like rubber does better. Rubber does better. It does not do just not perfect. So that's just what it is. Also, there is grease in here. It's actually pretty well greased, but let me pop out the portal gear. Let me stage it back in there so I don't lose anything. And the gear looks good. I don't know if these are CNC or sintered, but they are metal. So I'll take it. But what you're going to notice when I flip this over towards you is one of these bearings is not like the other. And that's because there wasn't a bearing there. That was just straight up empty. So I was able to source a sealed bearing from a Winter. The brand is Winter something on eBay. They sell full bearing replacement kits for pretty much anything. And this came out of a TRX4 kit. And I just kind of pulled bearings from the bag until I found one that fit both the outer diameter of the cover and the inner diameter / outer diameter of the axle. Eventually I found one, so I was able to rectify that problem, and basically for nothing. However, in discovering this, it got me going, well, what the heck else might be wrong with this thing? So, of course, I got the bearing back in there, which I'm just going to go ahead and reassemble this right now. Very, very easy, very simple. I say that, and now I'm on the struggle bus. Oh, there we go. Talked about it before, but if you're going to use tools, power tools, do this gently. I don't know the quality of the aluminum or the screws, so we're going to treat it like we don't want to break it. Okay, why don't you go in? There we go. The drill is for convenience and speed. It's not for torque. I'm going to hand torque it. And if you didn't see on the screws, they have blue thread locker. So I like to see that. And getting back to the original kind of thing I veered away from, somebody is assembling these things, right? At some point, somebody forgot to put a bearing in there. That's kind of the end of that story. It's not the end of the world. It's an extremely easy thing to fix. Does that detract from my overall impressions? Oh, you know what? That is keyed. It is keyed. Nice. All right. I will retract my previous statement. This keyed fashion for this is it is part of the stub axle, which is so cool because, and this being steel, if this breaks, if this thing gives up or you lose it, you could just put this back on and make sure your wheel is tight and it'll be fine. It'll work. That is neat. See, that's another one of those things you find out when you start to dig. That's a very cool development. I did not realize last night when I did this. Of course, it was late. So, yeah, that's keyed. So if you lose or break that grub screw, that screw pin, the capture screw that keeps that from coming off, as long as you have your wheel and your nut, you can put it back on and keep it trucking. Pun intended. All right. This is on its lowest setting, so I'm not using a lot of torque that's going to break anything. And these being steel and the wheels being plastic and all that, I'm not super worried about it. It's not nearly as much torque as it might sound like. Okay, so what I did is, well, shoot, let me check the back. But I actually checked the back while I was checking the front to just check the wiggle tolerances to see if maybe actually that was normal before I tore it apart. But when I pulled that apart and then said, well, screw it, and I just took both portal covers off, that's when it got confirmed that, in fact, this was missing the bearing. This one was good to go, totally fine. Now, that led me to take all of the rest of them apart. So I took this one off. Checked that one. That one was fine, so I took this one off. Took it off, and this wheel hex, that's what they're called, right? Wheel hex. You know, the part the tire goes on. it just came off. There was no screw pin. It was just not there, which makes me wonder how it was doing all the locking and unlocking in the initial impressions and unboxing video. But it was just not there. So it just came right off. So I did, of course, what I do, and I searched through all my wheel hexes, and I got some from a Axial Wraith that are actually very similar to this, but they're aluminum, so it uses the same screw pin. This screw pin is ever so slightly longer, but it does not affect the wheel going on at all. So it was missing the screw pin. Oh, that's why it didn't affect it, because these are keyed. Ah, man, you probably thought of that after I said it, and now I feel dumb and you're smart. But that basically drives home my point. Like, if there's no screw pin, but you can put the wheel on and lock it down, you're good to go. It's still going to work. So I guess hex screw pin's optional. So anyway, I fixed it. I put one in there. That was from a Wraith, and that's all good. But that is something I discovered after the video. And of course, you pull a string on a sweater, and then all of a sudden the sweater is in pieces, and it's just one big string. Discovering that, and the other thing over here, I just took out my driver set, right? And then the 1.5 up there. I just went over everything and just put it on there and checked to see its tightness. Everything was actually really good, except one screw in the diff. It was one of these four, I don't remember which one, was not backed out, but it wasn't tightened down. Like, I could just put a tool on it and turn it, and then it was tight. So I probably got like maybe 2.5 turns on it before it was snug, how I think it ought to be on the rear, and then one on the front, and that's it. And then everything else checked out just fine. Everything was nice and snug, like it ought to be. Now, if I put my tool on it and I could turn it with very little force, I did just kind of nip it up a little bit, just because I'm OCD like that, and I was already going through all the screws. So, but that was kind of it. And right before I started filming this video, I had another look, and I was like, well, and what else am I going to observe before I do the second part for the initial impressions, or at least the follow-up? And, how did this happen? How did the quality control person miss these things? Well, you wouldn't see this unless you're going to tear it apart like I did, and you wouldn't see this because it did not present as a problem once assembled. So it is what it is a term I don't like to say, but it's true here. Things happen. I've gotten axials, and I've gotten TRX4s that they're not perfect out of the box. I think we need to accept that. There's a human at the other end of this doing probably their best. So I think we got to give them a little bit of grace, as is often said. Now, I got to looking at the wires. I think the wire management was overall pretty good. I did add a zip tie here. You can see it's bigger than the other ones. Yeah, you can see that. And one right here. There was just a couple little flyers, couple loops that were just kind of hanging out and bothering me. And you can tell that I cut them off flush. And this is another thing that I was going to point to. Whoever did the wire management, they cut the zip ties, but only like they left a half an inch or so on that one. Basically, every zip tie that I can see, they didn't cut it all the way flush. Oh, that one's fairly flush. So I'm wondering if it's because they want to give you something to pull, or they don't want to get, probably in training they were told don't get too close because you could cut the wires, because they're all probably moving really fast doing this stuff. So again, I got zip ties. It's all good. Not worried about it. I think that's just fine. Something I wish they would have done, I'm not going to bother doing it, but make a quick disconnect for these wires right here. So then to take the body off, it's just a screw here and a screw here, but there's no way to get your wires loose without taking them out of the, you know, cutting that, taking this loose and affecting whatever waterproofing that they built into it. I'm sure you can just redo it because it's not hard, but there's no quick disconnect here. So if I want to work on this, I either got to suffer with the body flopping or take this all apart or cut these and put a plug in myself, which, you know, it's a possibility. But the reason why I'm erring on not doing that is because aside from changing out this plug, where'd it go? This to my battery plug, this literally doesn't need anything. It's already got lights in the front and the back. It's already got a very nice system that works really well. I just don't see anything that I need to do with it except for film it and play with it and share it with the world like you guys. So this little annoyance is just fine with me. I left these here so you guys could see what I was talking about. I like to cut all my zip ties flush. That feels pretty tight anyway. Those aren't going anywhere. And in the comfort and convenience of my garage, where nobody is telling me to hurry up, maybe, I can cut all these off and make it just as pretty and presentable as I want to. And all the world is just fine. So I think that's kind of all I wanted to say. Was this thing perfect out of the box? 95, 97, 98% in my book. Yes, it was. And the reason why that number might be lower for you is maybe you don't have bearings laying around from other RC kits. And then, yeah, you got to go to the store and you got to figure out what size the bearing is. You got to, you can't source your own screw pin for that. And, you just might not have the same capability to just make it work as I do. So your number, it could be lower. To me, this was about 98% perfect. Body and appearance, the function of everything as it was designed, perfect. The quality control of assembly and things, 98%. The smoothness of this system is so evident. I have no doubt this was put together by a very intelligent and quality-minded person. And, not to belittle a person who did this portion, if it was somebody else, there's not as much skill involved in doing this, but to assemble a transmission with the 2-speed and all of that good stuff, you can't be the same person unless you're somebody like me or potentially you who has all day to fiddle with this stuff. So they likely had these pre-built by somebody who gets to take their time or only does this. And then perhaps on an assembly line where this is a fairly quick thing, who knows? It's speculation at this point. So it's kind of unnecessary. But I do think out of the box and for the money. Now I'm going to put it in this video and in the original video. I went back and looked. I paid $508 for this delivered. Some of the websites that I put in the descriptions for links to find these, they're going to cost around, I think maybe Direct RC had it for $529 or $549, which is still pretty good, but they're all on back order. I think I told you on AliExpress, the best way to look for these things is just, no, that was for another RC that I got from AliExpress, but just go look on AliExpress and then use the AliExpress search options to find the best price like I did. But when I go back to the seller that I bought this from, it's gone up probably $200 And that's just kind of the name of the game on AliExpress. So you have to put in just a little bit of finger legwork to get the better price sometimes. So that's kind of it. I will throw in as an extra here, these are adjustable, not a whole lot. There's 3 adjustment holes here that are horizontal and in the back. So you could lay that over just a slight bit more, and then that one just a slight bit more that way. But watching this thing move and how it handles the terrain, I'm just going to leave it how it is. I think whatever they put in here for the shocks is really very good. Yeah, that is second impressions, and also some bad news. And I would encourage everybody, if you get one of these, and I of course encourage you to get one of these because this thing is cool. The videos I'm going to make with this, you know, if I ever figure out how to actually record like I got some sense, more cinematography minded, this looks so cool. Other YouTubers have done pretty good stuff, but no one talks about it. No one has got one and spoken about it that I can find as of right this minute that talks about it and runs it in English and shows you things and gives you the whole breakdown. So, yeah, I don't know. I think you should get one. This thing's awesome. Getting the little one made me find this one, and then I noticed the quality of the little one right off the bat, and then saw this and was like, well, if that's even half as good as the little one and it has all the features claimed here, like it comes with aluminum axles and steel center drive shafts. And these are like a polished steel or maybe like a chrome, so they should be pretty durable. Yeah, they've done a bang up job with this thing. And in the 15 minutes I actually played with it out in the dirt going to get my mail, I'm doubling down. I'm tripling down. This thing is worth every single penny I paid for it. I seemingly got it a good deal. I think you can do that too if you are probably one, patient, or persistent with looking. So if you like this, pick one up. If you like this video, give me the like, give me the subscribe, the share, ring the bell. What's the other one? Is that all of them? I don't know. Do all the things. Just all the things you can click on it. Unless it says unsubscribe, don't click that. Click the other thing. The bell, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I super appreciate it. Everybody who's been with me this far and is sticking around. And if you're still here at the end of this short-ish / long video, because that's how I tend to do it these days, thanks. And I'm going to see you in the next one. And hopefully this thing's going to get some cool camera time in the very near future. Later.